Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today, more auction talk for you. But this one, we're going to do two players each that are $10 and under right now in auction drafts that we feel can be starters on your team. These are guys that you get them for cheap. You already can plug them into the starting lineup. I just feel like they're probably undervalued and they're just great values for you to get right now. So we got two players each to get on your rosters. And we're kind of doing a mixture. I know maybe one site won't have them at $10. I know maybe your draft, they went for 15. Sure. It happens, right? It happens. We're just going to go kind of like more, of a usual average type, total to see what you're going to get. So, every auction is different. Yeah. This guy maybe it goes for 15, 20 in yours, depending on how it goes. But for the most part, these are $10 and under guys. We got two of them each. Jeff, who's your first?
My first is a guy that I've been really amping up, and he's actually one of the very few guys that we don't get to see. And he's one of the names I've been bringing up. And I don't feel like he is actually ascending the, how much money people are going to spend on him in auction. Like he's not going up any, which is great because a lot of the other ones are. So Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, is still my go-to guy. And he is currently $10 on Fantasy Pros, which is what I'm using for that metric. I still absolutely love this guy. We all know that he has incredible speed, which is going to be great on the Cardinals. He is going to be the starting wide receiver one for the first 6 weeks at least, while Hopkins is suspended. And you have Kyler Murray on a new contract. They played together before. Hopkins has always been that number one wide receiver, is always going to be a good position to be in. And on top of that, I think he has really big upside for touchdowns, which, especially for the first half of the season, we know is the Cardinals' kind of bread and butter. And whatever happens in the second half, that is really what they have to change. So I think that Marquise Brown is going to be really, really good for fantasy season. And I just think that last year we saw what he was capable of, and in a very unfriendly passing offense. So I think with this one, the moon is, this guy could be a top 10 wide receiver. And currently he's only valued at $10. And I think that puts him at wide receiver 27. So yeah. I just think that's a ridiculously good thing. I have no issue whatsoever if he's my wide receiver too. I absolutely love that.
Yeah. And you can easily get him when you go spend on running backs big. Marquise Brown's a perfect second receiver to get in that. On Yahoo, it's crazy. This just shows different sites, can have different values. Like Fantasy Pros is 10. Yahoo is going for $4 right now, which is crazy. His value is 10, but his actual average price is $4 lately.
And what have you been? How do you kind of figure that one out? Because have you seen him get any sort of hype over the preseason?
Not really. I don't feel like it. To be honest, I thought there'd be more, and
I did too.
It doesn't feel. I just don't feel like I've seen that. I just don't. Which is fine. I don't see. There's nothing negative. It's just, nothing crazy going out there, which is fine. Just keeps his value to a good level for you.
Yeah. And there's nothing else on that team. Like Kyler Murray not studying is the biggest story coming out of the Cardinals. But if that's the biggest story, we're in fine shape. That is, then we're not hearing about a young wide receiver shooting up the ranks or coming up the depth chart. No one else that can kind of unseat him. Hopkins is the biggest problem for him, which we know he's going to be good when he comes back, right? That is not an issue. It's great to have two wide receivers, especially when you've already had not half a year, but 6 games in order to get on the same page as your quarterback, and you need that guy in order to win. Him and Kyler are going to be fast friends all over again from their days in Oklahoma. So I just think it is set up for him to just coming out of the gate storming. And I absolutely love that. I expect him to have some games that completely win you weeks, because he'll have 2, possibly 3 touchdowns because of his deep ball ability and Kyler running all around. And on top of that, if Connor, the running back, does not have the touchdown heavy season that he did, that means that Kyler, he'll probably run a lot too, but in the red zone, we'll be looking for new, targets, whether that be Marquise Brown or not. whatever. It just gives him one more opportunity to put up fantasy points, which I love. Maybe it'll be Ertz, maybe it'll be someone else, but I absolutely love the possibilities that lie ahead for the guy.
Yep, definitely.
Anyway,
I'm
would
with
you
you.
have
So
as
my first
$10 or less guy?
Yeah, so my first guy is actually the guy who's going to step up because Marquise Brown left, and it's Rashad Bateman over in Baltimore. So, and again, Marquise Brown's gone. There is Mark Andrews, but after that, it's Rashad Bateman, a first-round pick who just came on late because of injury, didn't get much of a chance. Yeah, like the passing offense, like you said, like Marquise Brown left that. It's not as prolific, but it's still good enough to have a couple receivers do well. And Rashad Bateman should be that guy. He's going for $4.50, just $4 or $5 on ESPN drafts. In Yahoo drafts, I believe he's going for $4 as well. So that is a really good value you're getting for a number one receiver on a team. And that's why like Marquise Brown should be the number one. Bateman should be the number one. Better offense though for Brown, so he should go for a few more dollars, like he is. But go $4 or $5 for Bateman. That's awesome. And I see him going for maybe go to $7 to $8, more like that, which is fine. But I love the value. Not every ball is going to go to Mark Andrews. Bateman's going to be involved. He's a good talent. This isn't like it's not just number one by default that he's the only guy there. And so he's going to have a chance. No, he's actually good. He's a good receiver who's going to have a real opportunity. And hopefully Lamar can get him the ball. And I think it should be a good year for Bateman. And I easily see him being, again, if you're going heavy at other positions, I could see you getting Bateman, and maybe it's more of a flex starter than Marquise Brown being like a 2. I think maybe Bateman's more of a flex if you want to go that route, or if you have 3 receivers in a league like we do, he could be your 3rd receiver. But I like Bateman a lot this year. So. All right, Jeff. Who's your other guy?
Another guy, and I have a few of them, but I do want to throw out one running back. And I want to throw it out because a lot of people are going to be drafting right now. And this guy, his value is actually going to be going down after having kind of the hot start. And once again, he is one of my guys, so take it how it is. But I still very much like Ken Walker. And the great thing about him is running backs are very hard to come by. And right now, him and Penny are going to be the only 2, people in the backfield, really. And I think both of them are very capable if they stay healthy. I like Ken Walker as a higher upside because I do think he can stay healthy. What you're going to hear about right now is he might not start week 1. He might not be back for week 1 because of a hernia. He got that taken care of. That shouldn't be anything major. Maybe he has to get, just a little bit of rehab in just to make sure that those core muscles are good. But you miss a couple of weeks, but you're not spending money on him for him to really look like a starter. But I think come week 3, he will be. I think you can put him in and he can be a top 30 back, if not a top 20. Anything happens to Penny, and it could go even better. The only thing I worry about is the preseason has shown me that maybe the Seahawks won't be quite as bad as I thought offensively. And that actually helps me. I don't think they're going to be good, but maybe they won't be atrocious. And that is the only thing that I really worry about. I know it's still up in the air, but I still think that they're going to run the ball a lot. And I think Ken Walker is someone that you can get for less than $10, depending how your draft goes. But right now he is what is his auction value at currently? It is Kenneth Walker.
ESPN, it's $1, $2.
Yeah, they have him at 4 in Fantasy Pros. So that is what I love about him. You're not going to hear a lot about because he's not going to have a huge game in the preseason like other guys I've talked about, like Isaiah Likely. that everyone's going to take a shot at. I think this is a perfect spot where you can get him for dirt cheap and you can put him on your bench and he will be a starter come week 4 or something.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Rashad Penny's never shown the ability to stay healthy. So, and it's bringing his value down. You're not looking, you were never that's the thing. His value might have gone down now because it's injury, but you were never looking at starting Ken Walker in week 1. You weren't when you were drafting him. No, that wasn't the plan.
This is the difference. Right now, you can get him for $5 at the end of the draft when everyone's trying to get rid of their money at the end. Yep. You can get him there instead of having to pay 15, 16 because everyone all of a sudden saw him made one good run in preseason, and then everyone kind of
and I honestly don't
get him cheap.
Much changed. It's going to be more of a few, maybe it's not right away. That's not the plan. So if he takes over, he becomes a possible, honestly, league winner type player. If he's the guy, I could see that. And like, you're right. Maybe the Seahawks aren't going to be as bad as it's always just, everyone just assumes, well, the Seahawks are going to be just terrible, right? They're just going to be brutal. But in reality, they have a lot of good pieces on that offense.
Yeah.
If Locke or Smith, whoever's starting, is just, mediocre, even just slightly below mediocre, they have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Rashad Penny, Ken Walker. There's a lot of good players. Noah Fant. There's a lot of good players there.
And there's a lot that can happen, with that quarterback situation as well. Like I'm not completely sure they're not going to end up with someone else. Like I'm not completely sure Jimmy G is not going to make an appearance there. So if that was the case, all I need them to be is like a 25 type offense, just not terrible. And they will eventually get to the place where he can be a top 20 running back because he'll get that much usage.
Well, at this point, the Jimmy G thing, I can easily see that. I don't think there's any trade partners for the 49ers.
They're going to have to just cut him.
They have to cut him. And the Seahawks are just waiting. They're they're the team for it. Like
I love it too, because you just see Pete Carroll over there just like it all.
Yeah, and he's going to get to play against the Niners twice, possibly. So, if he wins that job, if he could take that job over, I can easily see that happening. Easily. So, all right. One more guy for me, and this will be no surprise if you've listened before. It's Rhamondre Stevenson. It's my guy. I don't know, again, if you're going to start him in week 1, but he will become a starter on your fantasy team at some point. And you know what? Worst case scenario, this doesn't pan out. My Rhamondre Stevenson love amounts to nothing. You know what? You're not really spending much. He's going for $3 on ESPN, and he's going for like $4 on Yahoo. You're not having to spend a lot to get Rhamondre Stevenson. And that's because of Damien Harris. That's why you're not. That's the only reason. Rhamondre Stevenson, if he gets a real opportunity, is going to be very good. That's the question, though. Will that happen? No one knows for sure what will happen with the Patriots. If he gets the opportunity, I think he's really going to be great. I think he can be a fantasy starter, like a flex starter, even with Harris there. I believe it's going to be it's going to be a committee at first, for sure, a big time committee. So Stevenson should have some good value. It costs you nothing. It's just a $4, $5 maybe. It's nothing. You're risking nothing to get Stevenson, who honestly, truly could be one of those league winner type players if he gets the role. For sure. I don't see any doubt. I love Stevenson. I have the whole time. I love the talent. It's just that Damien Harris is there. But to be honest, I've said this before. You can combine those two a lot on these drafts for sure, and get them both for cheap money. So I actually looked at our relegation leagues, Jeff. I've done 18 relegation leagues so far. 18, and my most drafted player out of 18 leagues is Rhamondre Stevenson. 14 leagues out of 18, I have Rhamondre Stevenson. Damien Harris, I have 13 out of 18.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And Rashad Bateman, I have him in 10 of my 18. So those are the ones I'm targeting for sure. There's other guys too, but those are the main ones for sure. Any other names you just want to throw out just to?
Yeah, I mean, wide receiver, there's actually quite a few. I'm not going to go into detail on any of them, but the other guys I like, Darnell Mooney, I think is a pretty safe wide receiver to have. He's $10. I like him as a mid-rounder. And honestly, like an Elijah Moore and even a Juju, after seeing that he's getting a lot of work with the first team, it looks like he's going to be on the field all the time. And that's kind of all I was worrying about for him. I'm not saying they're going to be prolific, but I think they could be really easily usable in your starting lineup as a wide receiver 3 or something. So, and then honestly, this one's not a winner. You know what I mean? As far as like, if you draft him, it's not going to be a winner, but I do think that a cheap running back you can get is Dameon Pierce. I think it's becoming, I liked him before, but I think it's all but certain that he will be the starter at some point. He is on a crap-tastic team though. So he's not going to be a guy that you can rely on, but as a running back on your bench that will be a starter eventually is a really good value.
Yep. And so if I'm looking at a guy who I think could be a starter, one further down my list would be a Brandon Ayuk. I love Brandon Ayuk this year. The jury's still out though on Trey Lance. That's the thing. I think Brandon Ayuk can be a really good player. He's cheap. I think he can become a starter. if you're going beyond starters and guys I just like throwing $1 on later on, Brian Robinson, Wan'Dale Robinson are the other guys I've been getting a lot. I love Wan'Dale Robinson. I just think that's a good little lottery pick from the Giants there. I'm very interested in him. And I've got him in 11 of my 18 leagues I was in.
Okay.
So
yeah, I was going to say the Brian Robinson, I think, is really, once again, it's another really good stash running back situation. Wan'Dale, I'm not quite on track yet because there's so many guys
there
are.
And that's why it's $1 at the end of the draft. And this guy, he hit some big numbers, man. He caught a lot of balls at Kentucky, and we'll see. I'm curious. I'm interested in him. I really am. We'll see how he plays out, but he doesn't cost you anything. So
yeah,
I like him as like a lottery ticket play for $1. So, all right, there we go. There's some good names there for you. Names we've probably talked about, but just want to reiterate again, people maybe coming around for the first time. Those are some of the names we like, and we keep getting Marquise Brown and Ken Walker for Jeff and Rashad Bateman and Rhamondre Stevenson for me. So there we go. Go get those guys. They won't cost you much. You can have them all on an auction draft. You really can.
Oh yeah. $10 or less. Yeah. That's what's beautiful about it.
You can get all these guys in your bench, and someone's going to break out of that. So there we go. That'll do it for today. Talk to you guys next time.